Welcome back, everyone. It's the Fantasy Endgame. We're here to draft, and it's Dynasty Wednesday, which I'm trying to make that a thing. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue like Taco Tuesday or anything like that. But this Dynasty Wednesday, we do Dynasty Superflex mock draft every Wednesday now. And if you want to do a Dynasty draft for real, and you want to be in a league with us and compete against us for a chance to win prizes, well, let me tell you, go to flockfantasy.com/endgame if you haven't already, and you can get 30% off right now. And just having that membership means that you get access to our Dynasty course, Building Champions, but also you get access to that league. So, got a few spots left in league number 2. So, go ahead and join now. And that way, our league can start drafting. Ready for that. More drafting is always better. All right. So, we're in mock mode again. So we're going to do Dynasty. And we've been doing Superflex just because, I think most Dynasty leagues at this point go Superflex. Do we feel like the rankings on Sleeper are pretty accurate now these days? Again,
No,
better?
I don't. I do not trust the dynasty sleeper rankings at all.
All right. We like Sleeper for our mocks, but beware because, sometimes rankings and ADP, they can fool you, and you don't have to go by someone else's rankings or whatever they say someone's being drafted. So don't worry about that. If you've watched us or if you've drafted with us before, you have a pretty good sense of where guys should be going, and that's why we do this. So that way you know in reality where guys should be drafted. So all right, we got some people already in. By the way, you'll always see this if you're a returning viewer. You already know what I'm talking about. If you're new, welcome. And let me just mention, you'll see, besides me and Chris, you have a few people already in the draft because they're in the flock. They have access to that mock draft channel. We know where the link is. The link is coming up right now for those who are waiting to join. So here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Only four spots tonight, man. This is
And
we keep saying it. Like there's gonna be a time where we're gonna come online. It's like we're not even gonna drop the link because the draft's gonna be full, and it's not far away. Like right, it's gonna be pretty soon.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy. We just had the 4th, of course, 4th of July, and that means it's not that far before it's going to be full-fledged draft season for fantasy. It's coming any second now. All right, looks like we are full, almost. No, we're not. I lied.
We're
Look, we had a
full.
couple left.
No, we are full. We are full.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks full on your end. Mine must be lagging or something. There's just no surprise there.
No,
Okay, we're full.
we're full. Dynasty, Superflex. So don't draft like it's a redraft one QB. I mean, you can, but we'll just rip your team at the end. We'll just rip your team at the end. So
Right. I mean, again, I always say this, but for those who aren't familiar, you don't have to take a quarterback first or second early, but you don't want to be the last one. You don't want to just completely wait on quarterback. There's only so many quarterbacks. There's wide receiver 1s, 2s, and 3s all have fancy value. Quarterback 2s and 3s, not so much.
yeah.
All right.
Well, we ready? Okay, looks like everybody's green. Paper, what's up, Paper? You're on the clock.
And if you missed out, sorry, looks like we have Roberto Aguirre. It's a little too late there. I get it. I know it happens. But again, if you join the flock and then you have access right away to all of these.
Yeah, that's why there were already 8 people in there.
Yeah. I forgot I gave myself the 3. The number 3 pick.
Burrow at the 3, huh?
I don't know. I'm feeling more and more. I know, you get more upside with a dual threat running quarterback, but I see Burrow as an elite quarterback for like the next decade. I really have no qualms. And Herbert, I think could get there. I do kind of almost like Herbert there, but I don't know. For right now, I guess give me Burrow. I just a little more trust in him.
Yeah, this is actually, I think this is actually a tough spot right here, to be honest. I think it's a tough choice at QB right here. I think there's two schools of thought you could have right here where I'm at. You could kind of take the safer guy, or you could go for the upside guy here, or you could even pivot away from QB here. This is actually a tough spot. There's a lot of options you can have here. I'm gonna try this because I almost always go QB in the first round. I'm gonna try this.
Yeah, like I say, you don't have to. I mean, look, getting the best receiver in the game, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
yeah, I mean, best receiver in the game, 24 years old. It's not like he's, 30 or something.
okay, we have some people, Mauricio and Roberto, saying that couldn't join or too late. It's right here, guys. So again, I know there's not going to be that many spots always available when we go live. Check out the Flock membership, and that gets you into the mock draft channel where when the link is going to drop ahead of time and get your spot.
Yeah, but on the quarterbacks, I was debating Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, and I think it comes down to like what you want to like. Trevor Lawrence is obviously the guy that if you said, hey, only one of these two guys is going to be a starting QB 10 years from now, I'm going to assume it's Trevor Lawrence because he's just that kind of quarterback, right? That kind of talent. But you got that upside with Fields and that rushing, and so that's where I was like kind of torn between those two guys.
Yeah, that's what I figured is those guys. I mean, I know you like AR, but not that early. Hey, who knows? Maybe he'll come back to you. I doubt it, but it's possible. I don't know. We throw out these terms, especially in Dynasty. We like win now, right? Oh, it's more of a win now guy because if Lawrence is going to be a stud, a top 10 quarterback for the next several years, like, doesn't mean you can't win now with him. Like, maybe Fields scores a little bit more this year. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. But I don't know. To me, in Dynasty at quarterback, I want the guy I think I'm going to shoot more for longevity than anything else. You know what I mean? That's my number one goal. I don't want to have to replace a quarterback if I don't have to.
Yeah, it's never fun.
It's
just the whole like, what if Fields is like the next Jalen Hurts? I mean, remember a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, you would never be taking Jalen Hurts would never be going in the first round, even in Superflex in a dynasty league. No way. It's too risky. So that's the thing. Like Trevor Lawrence, like what's Trevor Lawrence's ceiling? Like maybe like a Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow type, which hey, nothing wrong with that. That's great. Like you're not going to complain about that. But Fields has that like right game, like, oh, Fields carried me to a championship type of ceiling. But he also has more risk. So
that's the thing. You're taking on that risk. So at MB, and who just drafted and went for the first running back and then took a receiver and AJ Brown, saying don't understand the only young. Yeah, I personally don't get it either. Why would you specifically draft a team that is not going to win this year just to say you have the youngest team? Like, why does that make it that it's going to be better next year or the year after? Just because they're younger doesn't mean you're going to be better next year. I think I'd rather just have players I know are good than all the rookies who might be good. I mean, I'm not saying don't go young. You want to go young, but there's a difference between going young and just picking only like first and second year players. That's what I think you're talking about, right? Yeah. Only young strategy.
There's a balance. You can go young and still really good. Like NMB went AJ Brown and Bijan Robinson. And no, AJ Brown isn't Garrett Wilson young or Jefferson or Chase young, but he's turning 26 this year. Like he's in his prime, right? He's in that quarterback prime. So, you can do both. You can actually go young and still like be competitive now.
Yeah.
I have another tough decision here. This
Well,
is man. This it's
what
like
I
tough
was
decision
hinting
after
at
tough decision.
earlier. I mean, if you're gonna go QB, which again you don't have to, but I would think you'd get your guy.
Yeah, it's just
But there's a risk again, and I think I know because the guy you're talking about, he's more like your guy in redraft because you can get him late and shoot for upside, and if he doesn't pan out, you can replace him. And Dynasty is different.
yeah, exactly. In Dynasty, it's different because if he busts, you're stuck with him.
You're attached. Yeah, you're attached to him forever. All right, so you did the smart thing, going two receivers. Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely not taking a running back there.
No,
Me
not unless it's
personally,
Bijan.
yeah, if Bijan was there, I would have taken him. But me personally, not taking a running back that early most of the time in Dynasty. Especially this is a 3 wide receiver league and a flex plus super flex. So you're probably going to be starting. I mean, you're going to be starting at least 3 wide receivers, if not 4. And we know why. Like, I know everybody likes to think that, like, these running backs are still like studs when they're 27, 28, 29. Like, most of them aren't. Most of them are not. You just got sniped. Whereas the wide receivers are, right? We saw guys last year, 29, 30, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Hopkins when he played, cut before his injury. Like, they're still studs. So I'm always going to favor wide receiver over running back in Dynasty. They just have longer careers. It's just a fact. It's not like a hating on running back. Look, my favorite player of all time is Barry Sanders. Like, I used to love running backs. Then you start playing fantasy and you realize, hey, this is the way it works. It's sad, but it's true.
Well, especially nowadays. I mean, it didn't always used to be that way. All right, running backs led the way, but
I think you're right. They led the way in terms of like they were valued more highly by the NFL. But I think even when you think back, like to running backs, like Emmitt Smith is a great example. He was really bad towards the end of his career. Like when he got, his late 20s, he became really bad. He was just a guy who was still getting a lot of volume, but he wasn't very good. I think just back in the day, teams just kept running these guys into the ground even when they weren't very good. Whereas
yeah,
nowadays teams are like they don't do that anymore.
all right. Well, I'm pretty excited because I was between T. Higgins and Drake London for my last pick, and now I get both of them.
That's pretty nice.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's why. I remember somebody asked a while ago, like, what pick would I want? It's always better to have the early picks. Always.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Okay, so NMB brings up a good point here, and a lot of leagues do this. Should it be third round reversal because it's super flex? How do you feel in general about third round reversal? And it's what it sounds like. Anybody who hasn't played in a league like that, basically, we're doing a snake draft. We almost always do a snake draft, but in third round reversal, it's that whoever picked, it mimics the second round, right? In third round, it means that it doesn't go back to whoever picked first. So, NMB, who happens to be the 12th pick, which is maybe why he's wanting this third round reversal, but he would be picking first in the third round instead. But anyway, what do you think about that in general?
I mean, I guess I see the point of it, but I mean, even if you look at it here, like you still got shafted. I mean, okay, maybe you could have taken Bryce Young, right? Because the way it works in the third round reversal is after Paper takes JT, it then flips to NMB, right? And we start going that way.
It starts over. So he would get the first pick. And, that for super flex, and I get it because, you definitely have an advantage having one of the earlier picks in the first round. And so that kind of balances out, meaning the second and third round, it helps out the other teams. I'm not against it. I know a lot of drafts are like that. I think it's fine. In super flex, it does make sense.
I mean, if you want to really be fair, you do auction.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're not going to do an auction mock because it just they take
No,
forever. Like we don't have time for that. But
no,
yeah, auction is really it's not just the most fair, of course, because you know there's no pick. It's like you decide what your team is going to
yeah,
look like. Um, but also that's where the real strategy is at. I mean, player
yes,
values and you know how to build a team, and it's all about outsmarting your league mates. I mean, that's where it's at. Look, in baseball, I do several auctions, and man, you know how baseball rosters are. Right? It's not four positions on the field. There's 9 plus multiple pitchers. I mean, those I've been in auctions that take like 4 or 5 hours. Um,
oh yeah,
so
auctions.
it's fair. It's tough, but I don't think most people want to grind it out that much.
No, it's definitely a grind. It's definitely a grind for sure, but it's also the most fair because, like you said, you can decide like, you know, if you want that, you don't, there's no getting sniped. I mean, maybe somebody will outbid you, but that just means you don't feel that they're worth that amount of value. So you can't say they got sniped. It's just somebody values them more than you do, right?
Right.
Whereas like here, you could be like, oh, okay, I hope that. Oh nope, got sniped. Oh, got sniped again. And you don't really have any control. You just you gotta wait and see who's there when it comes around to you again.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people who play DFS, you like it. It's like you don't have to wait and compete with other people to see who's left and who you pick where. You build your own roster, right? You just have to look at the dollar amounts. Auction is like the best of both. Are you competing for the same player, but you also can pick any player you really want as long as you fit within your budget.
Yeah,
It's a super strategy. I mean, it's really the best. But
it really is. I used to
I
actually
mean,
play.
I really,
Play in a redraft auction league. It was one of my favorites.
but I don't. I'm trying to think.
Um,
I don't think I'm in any football auction leagues anymore. Really, I don't. Like I said, in baseball, I'm in a couple, but those are crazy tough leagues. And in football, this is not that common.
no, baseball I could see it because baseball, like I don't feel like people who play fantasy baseball, like it's a slow game anyways, baseball. So I feel like people who are like hardcore fantasy baseball players don't mind a really slow draft that takes forever. Whereas like fantasy,
Hey,
football's like, come on, football, like hurry up, make your pick. Like people join drafts where the rules specifically say there is an 8-hour clock per pick. And then when somebody's taking 2 hours to pick, they're complaining about the 8-hour clock. Like, make your pick. Like, right? Where I feel like in baseball, it's like, hey, baseball, it's cool. Like, don't worry, like, I gotta analyze some stuff. Oh yeah, I get it. Like, you know what I mean? But I
yeah,
was in a super flex redraft auction league, and it was one of my favorite leagues every year. It was a ton of fun because I had so much control. I didn't have to worry about like I got the number 12 pick and all the QBs are gone or whatever. It was definitely one of my favorite. But yeah, you had to put aside like 3 hours for the draft.
yeah. That's really the only drawback because it definitely takes more time. Um, we should do one. I mean, we're going to open up several end game leagues this year, right? We're going to do some. Well, let's just do one for the hardcore here, one auction league. What do you think?
We could try. Not yeah. That might have to be a buy-in league. That might have to be a buy-in league where
Oh
you
yeah,
know
yeah, yeah,
it's
definitely.
definitely it's a different strategy too as well. But
You got to know your stuff. Okay, player talk here because I was kind of hinting at AR. Thought you might grab him on the way back, but you went with a receiver. But that is exactly right. Where he's going, I mean, where you would have to take him, you are kind of drafting him. I mean, unless you say, well, his ceiling is Justin Fields, and Justin Fields is a first rounder. I guess you could say that. But I mean, are we sure that his ceiling is? And do we actually really know what Justin Fields' ceiling is? I mean, we're assuming he's going to be a stud again this year, but he's not a safe pick either.
yeah, I mean, let me make this pick.
I mean, I'm not completely sold, and to tell the truth, I'm not really going to have Anthony Richardson in a dynasty league. because like you said, at this point, all you're doing is you're betting on potential, which you could say, well, that's what you do for all rookies. But man, he is very raw as a passer. I think more so than Fields.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two ways you can look at it. Like, it's like, do you go with like safer guys like Tua, Kyler when he's healthy, Dak, maybe even like the Bryce Young, CJ Strouds, although we can't really call them safe yet. Or do you say, you know what, I'm gambling. I'm going for it. I'm gambling. Like, that's really what it comes down to, right? Because, you know, we've seen it, like I was saying, you know, 2 years ago, or when Jalen Hurts wasn't going nearly as high because he was a second round pick, but like 2 years ago, you know, if you were drafting Jalen Hurts in a startup, you were rolling the dice. And now you have one of the best QBs. So, yeah. It's certainly a risk.
I mean, you got to take some risks, right? Obviously, you want that stud, and if you get that guy who is a superstar and it pays off, I mean, obviously you're thrilled. But I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on him personally.
Yeah, well, you're hoping. I mean, it's like the same thing I said with Jalen Hurts a couple of years ago, and you know, I was saying it more about Trey Lance last year, only because I didn't like, because the Bears didn't get Justin Fields any weapons. And look, we don't know. It was, you know, Trey Lance played one game in a monsoon and then broke his leg. We don't know if Trey Lance would have had some monster rushing season had he stayed healthy. But you're just hoping that they improve as a passer, like we've seen with Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, right? Hopefully we'll see it with Justin Fields this year. That's what you're hoping. They don't need to be great. They don't need to put up Patrick Mahomes numbers. They just need to be good enough as a passer.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fair point. It doesn't have to be this guy's either the best, you know, player in the league or nothing. I mean, obviously there are different levels of what you call success and where you want to reach. I don't know. I mean, I think the point is, and this is the point you make when you say that you're going to target him in redraft leagues late, is he kind of has a high floor because he can just run his way out of trouble, and the rushing stats can keep him propped up to a certain level, right? Even if he's just a completely horrible passer, you say, well, that's Justin Fields last year.
Exactly. I think it's like, I don't know what the word is. Like, it's funny to me, but not like funny, haha, just funny, like peculiar funny when people, you know, is like, you know, oh, Justin Fields, top 5 QB in redraft. And then they're like, oh, Anthony Richardson, he can't throw. I don't want him. And it's like, you realize Justin Fields, like 2,200 yards and 17 touchdowns in today's NFL. 2,200 yards and 17 touchdowns in like the 80s was really bad. Like, really, even back in the 80s, like those are pretty bad numbers. And he's still like dominated. And that's what these type of guys can do. And that's why I keep saying, like, stop worrying about the passing. Like, I think the only worry, and it was kind of the same worry with Jalen Hurts a couple years ago, is, does he get benched? Is he so bad in real life that the Colts bench him for Gardner Minshew? That's the only thing you should be worried about.
That would be, you'd be really bad for that to happen, especially as a rookie. I mean, they know what they're getting into, right? They drafted him knowing he's got some work to do as a passer. They know how bad they were last year. I mean, man, if he gets benched, I can see maybe bench for a half or bench for a game or two, just because if they're getting blown out. But yeah. But again, the difference is in redraft, you can just say, fine, I'll take that chance. Okay, it's not working out. Pick up another quarterback, stream quarterback, because you waited anyways on quarterback. So what's the difference, you know?
Exactly.
But man, it's just in Dynasty, like I said, this is Dynasty super flex. So if you have to bench Anthony Richardson, like, who are you putting in instead? You don't want to put in Gardner Minshew in your lineup. So that's the problem, is that you almost put yourself in a position where you have to hedge your bet. Like, if I'm taking AR as my second quarterback, I want to be one of the first to take a third quarterback and take that. say maybe like a Goff type who's not exciting, but at least you can start him. Derek Carr, or even just wait and take like a Purdy and hope he gets the job. So,
yeah, I agree. I think we spent a lot of time on Anthony Richardson right now, but I think if you're taking Anthony Richardson in a dynasty startup, you definitely want to get a third QB relatively early.
All right, let's switch gears here. Just noticed this comment.
Thank you, Ricardo. What's up, Ricardo? One of our OGs from way back in the day.
There you go, best ever. That's our goal.
Although he's got a Chubb jersey, but we'll let it
All right, so let's see where we're at here. Round 5. I was tempted by Pickens, but I didn't want to take him too early. I didn't want to go Love that soon either, but I don't know. I don't think he was going to come back to me. Do you think he would have been available?
I'm not sure. I'm having a hard time figuring out how people value him.
Because, right now, coming up, we have Fantasy Sleeper has one quarterback, and that quarterback happens to be Daniel Jones, so he could take one. And then NMB doesn't have any quarterbacks, so I figure he's going to take at least one. Not that he has to, but he could.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things. It's definitely one of the things you got to look at when you're drafting and you're deciding between players. You got to kind of try to look at the players coming up and think, okay, what's the like if you're gonna bet on Jordan Love coming back to you, you want to look at the rest of the draft and feel like, okay, everybody at least has 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks. But yeah, when you got teams with, you got 2 teams with one. Well, actually, really, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams with only one team with none. Yeah, probably better just to get your guy.
I think it's based on the quarterbacks left on the board. If it's not him, either I'm going old at quarterback, which doesn't fit my build, or I'm going with Kenny Pickett, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you from experience, going old at quarterback is not a fun thing because, like last year, I went into one of my dynasty leagues with Russell Wilson and Matthew Stafford, feeling really good about my quarterbacks. I'm like, yeah, they're old, but they're really good. So who cares? And then they were both really bad. And now I'm going into this season going like, what am I going to do? Because you can't get anything for those guys anymore.
Oh, you felt great about your quarterback. So Stafford was coming off a Super Bowl before last year, and he had a huge season. And Russell was just going to Denver, and everyone was all jacked about him. So you thought you had like top 10 quarterbacks.
Yeah, why is this thing ticking like that? Stop ticking. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And the difference is, like, let's say instead of Russell Wilson, I had Mac Jones and like Kenny Pickett, who also were not very good in fantasy last year. At least you still have the hope that they can develop. With Russell Wilson and Matthew Stafford, you're just hoping somehow they bounce back. That's their only chance. Like, hopefully last year was a fluke and they somehow, in their mid to late 30s bounce back. That's like, it's just not fun to have. Like, it's fine to have like those old quarterbacks, like as like depth, QB3, whatever, something like that. But man, you just don't want those old QBs to be like your anchor QBs.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then the rest of your team better be really good. Like, I can contend for a championship even without them good. And most of the time, that's not necessarily the case. We'll get to Keith's question here because the team on the clock, Team 11, Fantasy Sleeper, took Pitts. And he wants to know, how do you feel about Pitts going a full round ahead of Andrews? He's saying he'd rather have Andrews, especially because you can get him later.
I mean, I'm taking Pitts over Andrews in Dynasty for sure. Like, I think we've given up on Pitts way too soon. All it's going to take is, like, if Pitts goes out there this year and has 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns, Pitts will never not be the number 1 tight end in Dynasty. Like, never. He will always be the number 1 tight end in Dynasty, like every year. Because he's what? What is he turning this year? 24, 23?
Oh, Pitts. I think he's 22.
Yeah, like he will be the number one dynasty tight end for the next 7 or 8 years if he does that this year.
I mean, I think in Dynasty, it should be more than a full round difference between the guys just because of age. And Pitts, the ceiling, sure, it's untapped and we don't know, but man, give him 10 more years to figure it out. I think that's fine with Pitts. I'm a little more nervous about him in a redraft league because you're taking a chance, obviously, and you're going to have to draft him early ish. Really, the only thing that kind of worries me with Pitts is it's not the offensive quarterback or whatever else, or London. It's the knee. Like I want to make sure he's healthy because we're saying that he's still a little bit limited. He should be okay for training camp, but I don't know. Anytime you have some limitations from an injury that happened last year, I'm a little bit worried now that if he's not full go by the time training camp starts, like that might make me pull back and redraft. In Dynasty, I'll still take Pitts.
Yeah, I just think there's too much and I like Andrews for sure. I mean, obviously and I do like the value I got on him there, but man, Pitts is one of those, like I'm saying, like if he goes out there this year 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns, he will be the number one dynasty tight end for 6-7 years.
Yeah, I think where you took Andrews is pretty solid. If anything, definitely. Pitts usually goes a little bit earlier. I think it's super flex, and that's fine. He doesn't have to be in the first 3 rounds, but if anything, it's surprising that Kelsey went before Pitts.
Yeah, that's a little surprising.
Doesn't mean it's right or wrong, just surprising. Let's see. Okay, so this is definitely not a guy I usually take, but in Dynasty, I will. I'm kind of surprised Etienne is still out there.
Yeah, we just haven't really. I mean, we have not had a lot of running backs picked. There's a lot of running backs still on the board.
Yeah, I'm just I guess Eckler. I can see maybe taking him over Etienne with Jacobs and Chubb. Just surprised people didn't go for the younger backs first, Chubb and Jacobs.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, I don't want to feel like I harp on Chubb every other mock draft, but
let's talk about
it would be really hard for me to draft Nick Chubb in a dynasty startup unless it was very late. I mean, he's 28 years old. He's at 1,500 touches. Even if he's very good this year, going into next year, he's going to be 29. He's going to be close to 1,800 touches, probably, if not over 1,800 touches. I mean, this could honestly be the last good year for Nick Chubb. And it could not even be a good year for Nick Chubb. I honestly, he's at that point of his career where we could see a decline. You have to accept that.
Yep.
So yeah, just not a guy I would be drafting this soon in a dynasty start. Just not a guy I would draft in a dynasty startup period for me personally.
Right. It's not even about where he was drafted. It's just that's not a guy you want to be carrying on your roster heading into the 24 season.
Yeah, because the problem is, I mean, unless he's really good this year, and then maybe you can trade him in the offseason to somebody who thinks he'll still be really good. But if he's not really good, or if he suffers some kind of injury, you're pretty much stuck with Nick Chubb now.
Right. Now, just play the other side. And I'm not probably drafting Nick Chubb much in a dynasty either, startup league. But, we had said that about a guy like Derrick Henry. You didn't want him last year. And I know you still don't want him this year. So that hasn't changed much. But he still has value. It's not like, now you're stuck with him. He's still could be a stud again this year. And we'll see. Hey, has he even been taken yet? Or is he still on the board?
He's still on the board.
Oh, there you go. I didn't take him. I'm staying young. I guess I resisted temptation, or I just didn't realize he was out there. But no, I'm going young running backs.
Yeah, I think that the difference between Well, I mean, I get, yeah, you could use the Derrick Henry example, but even Derrick Henry last year showed signs that he's probably declining, and I'll be very surprised if we don't see a further decline this year. I mean, he's almost at 2,000 touches, and there's not a lot of running backs who get to 2,000 touches and are better than they've ever been. Very, very, very rare.
No, I will say that I this year is probably the kind of make or break year for him, right? At this point, if you have him, you better be, in it to win it. And if not, then you need to sell before it's too late, whatever that is. Man, you got to feel, though, I mean, the way things are shaping up for the Titans, I mean, how are they not going to give him 300 carries or until he breaks, right? It's like that's their goal. That's all they're going to do is just run him into the ground again, because they got unless they happen to get DeAndre Hopkins, which I don't know. It doesn't seem like that's going to happen, but they really didn't do anything to the receiver core. They got the same quarterback. I mean, hell, if Will Levis goes out there at quarterback, they're going to run even more. He's going to get 40 carries a game.
Well, that's the other thing you have to worry. I think it's hard. You don't ever want to go, oh, he's going to get hurt. But he's coming off his second season of at least 350 carries. He's now close to 2,000 carries. He's 29 years old.
Yeah.
You can't sit here and say oh, he's different. He won't get hurt. This is probably the most risk we've ever, the most risky Derrick Henry we've ever seen. I do think the one thing going forward, and even if you look at this last year, you look at the last 2 years, Derrick Henry's been pretty bad. 4.4 yards per carry and 4.1 yards per carry, where the 3 years prior, he was 4.9 or higher in every single season. So we've already seen signs. But he's a touchdown machine, because when they get near the goal line, they just give it to him until he scores or gets stuffed, right? They just keep giving it to him, keep giving it to him, keep giving. So I think you're really banking on touchdowns. And you got to understand this offense is going to be horrible. It's going to be one of the worst. So, I don't know. This definitely feels like the riskiest Derrick Henry ever.
Yes. Like I say, you either take him with you, right? He's going to be running to the ground, and you just get on his back and ride him until it happens, and hopefully he carries you through the playoffs, or just get out before it's too late, because I feel like that whole Tennessee team, this is a tipping point for them. This year, we're going to see, this is probably the last year that Tannehill is a starting quarterback, at least in Tennessee, probably anywhere. If they don't make the playoffs, this could be the last year of Vrabel's the coach, because obviously his style would be wearing thin. They need to do something else. They drafted a quarterback for that reason. And, what they're doing, if it doesn't work, they're going to switch it up.
Yeah, this is definitely the last hurrah for this group, for sure. It's got to be. I mean, they can't roll in the next season with Ryan Tannehill again, 30-year-old Derrick Henry. No, I can't even believe they're doing it again this year. What?
Okay, worked so great last year. Let's do it again.
Yeah, I don't understand. But
so NMB got his quarterbacks, Trey Lance and Kirk Cousins. Got some.
I like that Cousins pick. That feels like good value for Cousins.
It is. I mean, he's another guy. Might not be the quarterback next year. I mean, if they don't do anything in the playoffs, which it's the Vikings, so they won't. They may not even make the playoffs. So that's the thing with him, is he might just be kind of a 1-year rental. There's a risk there, but you don't know.
I feel like he'll probably be playing somewhere. If the Vikings released Kirk Cousins, let's just say for some reason, Kirk Cousins spit in his coach's face or something, and they just they just outright released him. There are teams like the Titans who would absolutely go get Kirk Cousins right now.
Right.
So I feel he'll still be starting somewhere. It just might not be on the past happy Vikings with Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, like Tannehill will probably be a backup somewhere. He's probably not going to be leading a team, but Cousins
Yeah.
could start for a team.
Yeah, Tannehill's one I could see not starting next year. If he's really bad this year, yeah, I could see him not having a job next year.
All right, so there's the Derrick Henry pick. Man, he lasted to the 8.4. It's not bad. You're like, I'll pass. If he was on the board right now, are you smashing the draft button?
What's that?
If Derrick Henry was on the board for you right now, you smashing draft?
No, I'm not. He's not going to be on my dynasty team. If he's awesome this year, oh well. But I'm not.
Clayton was going to take him. He was ready.
Yeah, Clayton's not scared.
No, definitely not scared. All right, Andrea to Goddard. I was looking at him. I think I have to get my tight end before Keith does. So let's see. Quarterback. Everybody has. Oh, no. Take your shot. Still only has one quarterback, and that's Justin Fields. Andre only has one quarterback. And Paper only has one quarterback. Yeah. There's some veterans left.
Yeah, there's some guys you can get by with.
I was set to take Freiermuth before Keith did, but then doesn't matter because Anthony took him first. Just, you know what? I see it as making my decision easier. My decision is I'm not going to take a tight end, by the way.
And I was going to say, is your decision you're just going to time out? Is that like you're like, fine.
I know who I'm going to take. I just know now who I'm not going to take.
I just won't take anybody then.
Yeah, I'll just pass.
I'll show you. Yeah, pass. D-Hop. We haven't heard anything about D-Hop for a while.
This is going to drag on and on and on. Just like
even Dalvin Cook.
They're just waiting. They're just waiting for a team to get desperate, for somebody to get injured.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook's just waiting for that big running back injury in training camp, you know, which sadly, I feel like we get one or two every year.
We're going to. That's why he's going to wind up on a team that nobody expects. Everyone's like, oh, it's the Jets or, you know, maybe the Dolphins. No. It's going to, well, I don't want to say, I don't bring on someone or like put that out there, because not that I believe in, you know, I want to jinx somebody, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be like Carolina, Miles Sanders gets hurt.
Oh, thanks. Right after I pick him.
Hypothetically.
Carolina, that wouldn't even make sense.
What if he winds up in Tennessee because Derrick Henry does break down?
I could see that, but the problem is, I can't imagine Dalvin Cook going into the season not on a team. Like, I think he'll find a team first. So Derrick Henry would have to get hurt in like training camp or preseason, which, you know, could happen.
Could happen, but less likely, because they're definitely not going to run him into the ground in the offseason.
No, they basically don't even like.
But they're not that dumb.
No, they don't even like give him the ball.
No. It's like you just sit on the side and watch film.
Yeah, you know what you're doing. You don't need practice. Which I've always wondered that. Like I always have wondered about that. Like why are these veterans playing preseason games and stuff? It's like these guys know they don't need you know, preseason.
They definitely do not. Because Derek Carr, a third quarterback. And see, this is the other thing, and I talk about this. This happens to me all the time, right? Because I'm like, I can wait. Everyone has their starters. Oh, no. People will be taking their backups before you take your second guy. So you can't wait too long, especially a position. Because, again, there's only so many starting quarterbacks. And so if you're going to wait, yeah, people will draft a third quarterback before you get your second. And then you get stuck with, like, Baker Mayfield. All right, we have a request from Clayton. Don't take the guy he's going to take.
I don't know who he's going to take. I'm actually between a few guys here that I'm just debating on what direction I want to go. Like, who do I think? I think there's a better chance he makes it back to me.
Let's see if that was the guy.
I doubt it. I doubt that was the guy.
No, I don't think so. Okay. Apparently that wasn't the guy.
No, I didn't think that was the guy. I'm curious who he takes here because, okay, he wasn't even on. Like, he wasn't.
Yeah, you definitely weren't going to take Javonte.
Nah.
You didn't take a running back. You only have one running back, so you still have some gaps to fill, but that's okay.
I did think about Charbonnet. He was one of the guys I was thinking about, but when I'm looking at the running backs, I'm like, there's still a lot of running backs I'd be fine with.
You missed your chance to take Sam Howell.
See, I actually thought Sam Howell would make it back to me. He was one of the guys I was considering, but I'm like, no, Sam Howell will make it back to me, but apparently not.
Can never wait. Well, let me ask you this. So, because you took as your first quarterback, you took Kyler. Does that make you feel any sort of pressure to take another quarterback sooner if he misses half the season or whatever? Or are you kind of building a more win next year team and you're not too worried about it?
I definitely think I have a team that can contend this year. I definitely would like to get some QB depth because of Kyler for sure. But I'm not going to like force QB just because I took Kyler.
Okay. Yeah, you don't want to force yourself to take quarterback. Look, there's still a couple guys left who are starters. You could be fine.
Yeah, there's still guys I'd be okay with. And remember, it is super flex, so you don't necessarily have to start two. Look, in the cut league, that league where I had Russell Wilson and Matthew Stafford, I wasn't starting two quarterbacks. Because Matthew Stafford was hurt and Russell Wilson was unstartable. So I wasn't even starting two quarterbacks. And I made it to the championship. So it's not like you have to start two QBs. It's definitely nice to have two very good QBs.
Well, I mean, starting a bad quarterback is definitely not better than starting another position.
Yeah, throwing Russ out there and getting 9 points, it's like I might as well just throw, a wide receiver out there and get 12.
All right, Clayton, don't snipe Chris here.
I doubt it. I was gonna say, I'm surprised Bateman's still on the board.
Yeah, and again, we're all kind of skeptical there, but it's Dynasty. I'm gonna give the guy some time. I think this is fair value for him because also you look at the receivers left. There's the guys you really don't get excited about, and then there's some rookies that you don't really know about. So I think this is a good spot to take him too.
All right.
Any truth to this?
Yeah. I just want an all kicker league. Can we do an all kicker league?
All kickers, only kickers, all kickers every day.
Yeah, just all kickers. How many? What is there? 32 kickers in the NFL, so it's a 8-team league, and we all start 4 kickers.
I remember back when kickers used to be predictable. You're like, I have a kicker. He's going to be the kicker all year. But now kickers get hurt. Somehow kickers manage to get injured. Kickers never used to get injured. Now they get injured. They get cut mid-season. It's like,
yeah, that's true.
It's my turn. All right. Well, that officially means I'm waiting again on tight end. Get my little stack here with Jordan Love. Nico, good choice there.
Yeah, I thought about Nico where I took Brian Robinson.
Okay, Jimmy G, our paper, that is his second quarterback. So Jimmy G, potentially super flex spot there.
Yeah. Gotta hope he plays.
All right. Well, apparently Keith took Nico because I took Reed. Yeah, that's why, because I knew he wouldn't be available on the turn. The Mac, return of the Mac. Here we go.
Yeah, that was probably should have taken him last round.
How young do I want to go? This is the question. How young? You know what? I'm just going to wait. Still going to wait on tight end.
I mean, might as well.
Might as well. I think almost everybody after me already has one, so not going to make a difference. Okay, so I took Jaden Reed. You know, I like Jaden Reed. You know, we talked a couple months ago with Matt Harmon. He really likes Jaden Reed. You know, could grow into the number one role. I swear every day on one of these things that is a sleeper or, you know, some of these news feeds I get, like every day they're trying to convince me that Romeo Doubs is like the number one guy. He's going to break out. I mean, and I'm not kidding. I said like almost every day I see something about Romeo Doubs. Like, are you buying this? Like, why is he being hyped up so much?
I don't know. Maybe because he was hyped up last year and people want him to be a thing.
Yeah, he was definitely hyped last year too.
Yeah.
I mean, is he just like one of these like training camp, you know, studs, the guy who, you know, just goes off like practice MVPs? And,
yeah.
You know, there's guys like that.
Like there's just certain guys that like people really want to be good and they just can't, you know, every year. Every year, it's like this year.
I mean, he's only had one season, so it's too early to say he's not going to do it. But man, there's guys who have led, the league in rushing or receiving in the preseason multiple times, like every year. Like these guys can't be stopped, and then they can be stopped. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what happens here. But it's the long game here. I'm playing Dynasty. I'll take a chance on Reed. I like his game. I think he'll be a good fit. So I like Dobbs too, but I think I don't know.
Did I just snipe Clayton with a Matthew Stafford snipe? A Matthew Stafford snipe?
He has two quarterbacks. I mean, he's got Stafford's replacement with Goff. Kincaid, solid pick.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, he didn't have a tight end. Okay, I thought there was only one team left that didn't have a tight end. I guess he didn't either. So he took Kincaid, which is fine.
Yeah, that was my worry. Like if I don't take Stafford here, I probably don't really have a QB3. You're either going like hoping Levis takes over, hoping Baker somehow is good, which he won't be, hoping Tannehill is somehow good, which he won't be, or you're drafting backups. So
yeah, and we do talk about this. You generally would like a third quarterback because, there's only so many quarterbacks available. I don't know. It looks like I might be going no quarterback 3 either now that I look at the board left because again, I wait too long. This is what happens.
I know it's like you want to push the envelope and wait as long as you can, but then you end up going, wait. Now Hendon Hooker is my QB3.
Yeah. And he might be. I would take him over Levis, but probably won't even get either of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is where you don't want to be. That's exactly where you don't want to be.
I like that Sutton pick. I feel like Sutton's pretty undervalued in all formats, but especially in Dynasty. I mean, he's still only 27 years old.
And there's Levis. 4
Also, if you want to buy into coach speak, OTA noise, apparently they had him study Michael Thomas's slants, and Cortland Sutton last year was an incredible route runner in terms of slants. So now people are starting to buy into Cortland Sutton being this year's slant boy.
Hey, it's something better than nothing, right? At least he'll have a role, and at least there. But that's one thing, and talk about coach speak, but speaking about the coach himself is Sean Payton. What he says he tries to do is focus on what are the players' strengths, what are they good at, and let's do that, right? Not try to mold them into something, but he will do that. He'll target their specific strengths. He's trying to utilize Dulcich's, versatility and athleticism at the position he plays. Sutton, he's not a burner. What is he good at? Well, apparently he's really good at slants, and that's what they're going to do. So if he gets a ton of slants, maybe he won't go off for 100 yards per game, but if he catches 7-8 balls and can do some things, yak-wise, I mean, you got some value there.
I mean, he's got to be better than last year. At least like you're getting him at rock bottom.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely good value. That's for sure. And he's not that old.
No, he's 27.
Yeah.
He's like 27 and a half right now. So you figure you got at least this year and a couple more years probably. I was actually contemplating Gabe if he fell to me, so thank you for drafting him.
I was going to say there's no way you sniped him on that, but maybe you did.
I wouldn't say you sniped me, more that you just, made my decision easier.
There you
How about that?
Apparently didn't make it that easy.
Well, no, because I somehow thought these people, James Cook and AJ Dillon, were still on the board, but they weren't.
I didn't realize that Harris was still on the board. Well, now I actually have to look and see who's on the board at running back.
I feel like Tank Dell is going to get some preseason hype here. He feels like a preseason all-star to me.
Oh, did he just take Rashawn Johnson? I can't believe it.
I was thinking about Rashawn.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. Dell is definitely not a guy that I was big on pre-draft, but I think wasn't it that Stroud requested him to be drafted, right? Because they bonded during one of like the Senior Bowl or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
whatever.
his guy.
How often does that work out?
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly what I was just talking about. Yeah, well, but he favors him. Maybe he'll look his way, get him targets. Of course, he has to do something with it, but I feel like he's more of a guy who's going to depend on that yak.
Yeah, I could just see him having like a big preseason, people getting all jacked up about Tank Dell, and then the real season starts, and it's like, oh, it's not quite that easy. You're not just going up against third stringers, second stringers, and guys who aren't making the roster. Now you're going up against real players.
Yeah, exactly. I did just decide not to go tight end. I have like 3 tight ends in mind, so okay. So you didn't go tight end either. Well, now it's time for the reverse snipe. Maybe.
I like that Downs pick. I was like, man, I hope maybe Downs will make it back to me.
Yeah, Downs and Mims both this round. I think very good values.
Yeah, I like that. I like that Mims pick too. I actually thought about Algier with my last pick.
All right, I did it. Reverse snipe.
I'm glad I went so wide receiver heavy early.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point, rookies and dart throws.
Man, this isn't a guy I thought I'd be. Actually, I'm gonna go here first. I debated Spears there.
Yeah. Like, even if I did think that Derrick Henry was just going to disintegrate, during the season, I'm still not high on Spears. Like, I don't know. He's not a guy I love. And I don't really know if anybody else, I mean, we haven't seen anybody other than Derrick Henry thrive in Tennessee's backfield, right? Even when he was hurt,
Yeah.
nobody is just taken over. I mean, it's not like it's a great offense or a great run blocking O line. It's just Derrick Henry is just unstoppable because he's too big. So I don't feel like I have the need to get, Tennessee RB, whoever it is, just because Derrick Henry isn't there hypothetically. But Yes, I think I've fallen into that trap too many times.
Yeah, I mean he's not a guy I usually want in Dynasty, mainly because of that knee.
Good question here, Cameron. How big a role do you see Monty having? Huge Gibbs guy. I mean, yeah, Gibbs could be huge, but do you think it's more
The
than just
problem,
goal?
I think the problem for Gibbs is that he isn't huge. So I don't. I think Monty will be the early down goal line guy, and Gibbs will be the change of pace, pass catching guy. If you watched, I think the video's out. Yeah, if you watch the late round running backs, or no, oh no, it's coming out tomorrow. Never mind, I don't want to spoil it. I do talk about Gibbs, and I make a comp that I think is very obviously. I think it's a good comp to what I think you can expect from Gibbs in year one. But I think we'll see Monty as like the early down, between the tackles, goal line guy. Gibbs the change of pace, pass catching guy.
Yeah, I think people are maybe not realizing just based on draft capital. You think, oh, Gibbs, he's exciting young rookie. He's gonna be the guy. He'll be one of the guys, but they signed Monty for a reason. They signed him beforehand. This is not a team that's going to give all the touches to one running back. So, I mean, I think initially we might even see Monty get more touches. He's definitely going to get more carries, I think, per game than Gibbs. That's a given. He might get more touches overall.
Yeah. If you want to hear my full thoughts on Gibbs, watch the video tomorrow. It comes out. Clayton's asking if we can answer his trade question here.
All right.
I like that he's getting redraft trade questions in July.
Kupp, Ayuk, and Shane, or AJB, Higgins, and Elijah Moore.
It's the last three for me. It's the last three for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think AJB Higgins better than Kupp Ayuk, and I do like Ayuk. And then Elijah Moore and Shane are both gambles to me. So I'm going the second side.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I value those top two receivers more than Kupp and Ayuk, AJB and Higgins. And if you think about it, Brown is more late first round, still a stud receiver. Kupp, unless you happen to think Kupp's going to go back to what he was during that record-breaking year, he's still going to be one of the top running backs. Let me get my guy. I mean, he's going to be one of the top receivers, Kupp is, but I don't think there's a huge gap between him and AJB. I think there's a little bit bigger. Higgins and Ayuk, it'll be close. But I think in the third part, it tilts it. I like a Shane, but he's just going to be a committee running back. I think Elijah Moore could have a solid season. So, yeah, I'll go with the second side too. It's interesting. We're already making redraft trades. I like it.
I know. A redraft trade in July. Early July.
All right. Well, our Dynasty mock has officially ended, but we're not done. We're going to go through each team and give our thoughts real quick. Let's start with Team 1, Paper. Let's see what this team looks like on paper. We got Pat Mahomes at the 1-1, JT and Gibbs with Devontae Adams and Najee. What do you think about 3 running backs in the first 5 rounds?
I mean, it's definitely not my style. It's not how I would have done it, especially in a 3 wide receiver league like this. Yeah, and then you end up with Adams, Jameson, who's going to miss 6 games, D-Hop, who's not on a team, and 31 years old, Mike Evans, who's 30 years old and catching passes from Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. I do kind of like the shots you took late on wide receiver, but I think, man, I mean, in a 3 wide receiver league, what you're going to be starting Adams, Hopkins, and Evans probably most of the year. And then, if Adams falls off, if Hopkins goes somewhere bad, and if Evans continues, this is not my style.
Yeah, just because if you look at your three receivers, because again, Williams is missing at least 6 games. Um, you're going with some very veteran receivers. All three of them are very veteran. And then your second quarterback's Jimmy G. That's very risky. So this team, if things break right, yeah, you could be solid to contend, but next year could be ugly. All right, and then Keith went with Jalen Hurts and then Tua, reverse night for me. Got Hill for the stack, Zay Flowers, Pittman, Deontay Johnson, and then the running backs are Dobbins, Pacheco, Kendre, with Nico, Mac Jones as the third quarterback, Chase Brown, Downs, and Mayer, who I will admit, I was considering him at tight end. So good pick.
Yeah, I think I like a lot of these picks. I don't really see anything that stands out to me as necessarily a bad pick. I mean, rolling into the season with Michael Mayer as your tight end may be tough, maybe tough for a couple years. But I mean, if you can get by, you got good QBs, you got good young wide receivers, young running backs. I mean, I don't know if this team can contend this year, but definitely a lot of youth and upside on this team.
Yeah, this seems a little in between, right? Like there's a good core, and it's not old. This is an old team,
No,
but it's also not
definitely.
super young. And at running back, it's like you're solid, but like I feel like, I mean, if Kendry Miller pans out, sure. Pacheco, he's like startable, but not superstar kind of potential there. So yeah, this team will be interesting. Curious to see how it plays out. All right, and then there's me. I took Burrow, Higgins, and then London with Quentin Johnston, Jordan Love, Etienne and Walker, Mingo Cook, Jaden Reed, John Mechie, Eli Mitchell, Dulcich, and Zeus.
I mean, you definitely got some really good running back value with Etienne and Kenneth Walker that late. You got good wide receiver value with Higgins and London. I do wonder about like your wide receiver 3 and your flex, because you're looking at Johnston, Mingo, Reed, or Mechie, or James Cook. So maybe this is a team more of a win later team. I don't know.
I think I'm young enough that it's almost a not I'm not gonna pun, but almost like playing for next year team because Johnson and
Yeah.
Mingo and Reed, right? Got 3 rookies there. I think if I had gone like Pittman or Pickens as my wide receiver 3, that might tilt things a bit.
I'm surprised he didn't go Zay over Johnston.
I thought about Zay. Yeah, I did think about Zay. But
I think Zay might give you a little more to start the year. So, but yeah, I think this is more of a next year team. It's not a bad team. I mean, you got a lot of good values, a lot of good players. I think it's just more of a next year team.
I agree. I think that's kind of the direction. I mean, look, London is super young still, and I try to get young running backs. That's my goal in Dynasty. All right, let's go to Ronnie, who is in the Dynasty League, right? Just joined the Building Dynasties,
Yep.
which if you missed it at the top, guys, you want to join us in Dynasty, we'll show it again at the end, but flockfantasy.com/endgame, you can actually join a real Dynasty League with us. Let's see how we did in the mock. Went with Herbert and Anthony Richardson, Diggs, Debo, Dotson, Chubb and Rashad White, Keenan Allen, Derek Carr, Njoku, Rashee Rice, Rashawn Johnson, Juju, and Izzy.
Yeah. It's interesting.
It's like
you got
I feel like
guys
we did
like
this last time. Maybe it's just me. It was like young, old, young, old, young, old.
yeah, you got Diggs, Chubb, Keenan, who could still. I mean, those guys could all still be good this year, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, you got I don't even mind taking Richardson there because you did get Carr. So even if Richardson busts, you should at least Carr should be serviceable as your QB2. When I look at this team, I actually think like this team could probably be pretty good this year between Diggs, Debo, Dotson, and Keenan. You should have good wide receivers this year. Chubb and White, assuming they stay healthy, should be okay at running back. You got Njoku. You should have 2 good quarterbacks. I certainly think this team could contend this year. And let's say one of Diggs, Keenan, or Chubb falls off. You have enough youth that it's not like you can't turn this team over fairly easily. So I like this team actually.
Yeah, I mean, definitely good values across the board here. Yeah, I think we have ourselves a pretty good contender. Anthony went with Josh Allen at the 5, Devontae Smith, Bryce Young, DK Metcalf, Pollard, Calvin Ridley, Akers, Muth, Ritter, Aaron Jones, and then Mooney, Moore, Mims, and Van Jefferson. I mean, I like a lot of the players on this team.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. I think the only pick I don't like is Aaron Jones. I'd probably go if I just looking, I probably would go AJ Dillon. Just give me the 3-year age difference at running back. It's just that important at running back. But other than that, I like a lot of these picks. I think he got good value. He's got good wide receivers, Pollard and Akers. I mean, Pollard's a little bit up there in age, but he doesn't have the wear and tear. I say a little bit. He's like 26, I think, or 25. Akers still very young. Muth, I think, is one of the best tight end values in Dynasty right now. So, yeah, definitely like this team.
Yeah, I really do. And I was going to take Muth right before he did. And I like, even though I said the only thing if it might be an issue is the flex spot. Either you're going to have to put Aaron Jones at the flex, which should be fine, or Mooney more. Like you're hoping one of those guys pans out, and that's fine. But I like still that you went and got Ritter, got that third quarterback ahead of time instead of worrying about your fourth, fifth receiver. I think that was a smart move. So this is a very good team.
Yep.
Andrea went with Lamar Jackson and then waited a while at quarterback. Let's get to there.
Yeah.
But first went with Waddle, Watson, Ayuk, and Burks. I mean, that's a great receiver core. Pearson, Swift, Goddard, Gibson. And then there's Russ with A.J. Dillon, Tank Dell, Algier, and Penny.
Another team where I can't find one pick I don't like here. I mean, maybe Tank Dell, but that's really nitpicky.
Yeah.
I mean, good young wide receivers outside of maybe Tank Dell. We'll see. Good young running backs outside of Penny, but he's your 14th pick, so that's fine. I mean, you pretty much had to settle on Russ. I mean, maybe you could have gone younger with like Mac Jones if you wanted to, but nothing wrong with that. You got Goddard. I think this is another team where I really like a lot of these picks.
I mean, if Russ has a bounce back year, this is one of the better teams here. And I like this strategy. Other than that, you kind of did what I did here. You waited to around 6 and 7, got 2 running backs who are both solid starters and both still very young. I think that's really good. And this receiver core is maybe the best. You got those 4 good receivers in a row. So very, very strong contender. But then there's Chris's team. Let's see. Went with Jefferson and Olave, said forget quarterbacks until round 3, and then took Kyler, which we discussed earlier. DJ Moore, Mark Andrews, Terry McLaurin, Kenny Pickett, Miles Sanders, Sky Moore, Brian Robinson, Stafford, Harris, Jacoby Myers, and then Laporta. Well, as we said, at quarterback, you're hoping Kyler comes back this year, and then you say, okay, fine, I'll start Stafford and Pickett. They can get you by because your 4 receivers are all really good. When Terry McLaurin's your wide receiver 4 and DJ Moore's your wide receiver 3, like you're in good shape. So that's a good way to build the nucleus. Now, look, you can't realistically do. I mean, you can, but you're probably not going to be able to do both. Where you have great young quarterbacks and great young receivers across the board that you feel great about in a dynasty startup, right? Having 3 or 4 stud young receivers and 2 young stud quarterbacks. So you almost have to pick a little bit, pick and choose or balance them out. You went with the receivers. I think your quarterbacks, look, they can get you by this year. Do you think your running backs can get you by with Miles Sanders, Brian Robinson, and Damian Harris?
Oh, yeah, I think they can get me by. I mean, obviously, if the draft continued on, like in most dynasty leagues, I'd start hammering running backs here. But I think between Miles Sanders, Brian Robinson, Damian Harris, they can get me by. And like you said, my wide receivers should carry me. Like, I kind of look at it like, yeah, maybe Pickett and Stafford can hold it down this year. But even if they don't, next year with a healthy Kyler Murray, hopefully Pickett gets a little bit better. I won't really need Stafford. And I'm young enough everywhere that, like, I don't have to worry about, anybody hitting the age cliff. So I still should feel really good about this team going into the next year as well.
Right. Yeah. So you didn't get running backs that are first or second year, but you also didn't get Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, and
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook, and guys like Aaron Jones. So, yeah, still should be starter competitive next year as well. Clayton, who's constantly worried about getting sniped. Let's see how he turned out. He went with Jamar Chase, which I feel is pretty good at the 8. And then the Sun God. CJ Stroud is his first quarterback. Then he went CMC, George Pickens, Goff as the second quarterback, Amari Cooper, Madison, Javante, Bateman, Kincaid, Gabe Davis, Samaji Perine, and then Evan Ingram.
Yeah, I like getting Ingram there after you take Kincaid because you don't really want to be relying on a rookie tight end. So Ingram should still be good this year. Like these wide receivers, Chase, St. Brown, Pickens, Cooper, even getting Bateman and Davis late, that's pretty good. You got CMC. I guess between CMC, Madison, and Pirine, you should be okay this year at running back. And then hopefully next year you got Javante fully healthy. You know, we'll see how CMC is. But I certainly think, I mean, if there's one area that I would be nervous about, it would be quarterback. You know, I do like Stroud long term, but what are you going to get from him year one? And of course, Jared Goff. I'm not sure. Like, I feel like Jared Goff is due to turn into a pumpkin again. We'll see. So that would be my one concern. But I think overall, there's a lot of picks I like here. A lot of good players, good team.
Yeah, I mean, looking your receiver core is really good too. Those top 4 guys.
Yep.
And then, like you said, running back, I think you'll have good players this year. And assuming CMC holds up, you could have really good too next year with Javante. CJ Stroud, you know, I like Stroud. Goff, I think he'll be fine. Like, he'll probably be the same this year as he was last year, right? King of the world went quarterback, and then quarterback, and then quarterback. What do you think? Trevor Lawrence, Watson, and Prescott. You know, we talk about getting 3 in a super flex. Do you like getting the first 3 in the first 3 rounds?
I mean, typically no, but you did get 3 really good quarterbacks. You probably won't have to worry about quarterback for the next 4 to 5 years or longer. The only downside here is you can only start 2 of these guys. And I think we're going to see when we look at the rest of your team how it affects the rest. But let's take a look.
Well, okay, here's the thing. At running back, you got Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. That's a pretty good 1-2 punch. And then Charbonnet, Connor, and Spears. Running back's not a problem. But like I was just saying, if you're kind of choosing, right, you're going to choose between building your core at quarterback and receiver. You clearly went with quarterback, but that means your number 1 receiver is Judy, number 2 receiver is Godwin, and then 3 is Lockett, 4 is Cooks, who are good, but maybe a little bit past prime, and then Cedric Tillman. So what do you do with a team like this? I mean, this team, I feel like you kind of have to go all in to win now. Do you immediately dangle one of those quarterbacks as trade bait?
No, I don't think so. I think you drafted 3 in a row. You got to keep them. I mean, I know it's you see Barkley there at the 4-4, and you're like, oh man, Saquon Barkley. But I think when you go 3 quarterbacks like this, I'm going after wide receiver ASAP. Again, it's a 3 wide receiver league. We talked about it. Wide receivers have longer shelf lives, longer careers. I mean, if Saquon Barkley regresses this year, which I think he might, and Derrick Henry turns to dust, which he might, it's a realistic possibility, you're not even going to feel good about your running backs next year, let alone your wide receivers. So I would have liked to attack wide. Like I would have liked a DJ Moore, a Brandon Ayuk, a DK Metcalf, somebody like that to give yourself some more younger, good wide receivers and just say, hey, I'm gonna build my team around 3 awesome QBs, 3 or 4 awesome wide receivers, and figure out running back later. That's what I would have preferred.
Yeah, and I do think he somewhat hedges bet at running back because I guess he grabbed Spears. So he's saying, well, if Henry turns to dust, then I got Spears, right? He's the guy. But yeah, to me, like I said, that doesn't excite me, but maybe. And then you got Charbonnet, who will be fine. So yeah, I think the receivers are going to be fine. But yeah, this team is all in to win this year, I think. Yeah. All right, take your shots. Oh, and he's saying he took Dak for value, just the best player available. He's saying he would trade him in a real league. And I don't think that's
I don't mind that. Like I'm saying though, I think once you go that route, I'm hitting wide receiver hard after that, and then I'm just taking whatever I get at running back.
Yeah.
personally.
Right. So your issue is more the Saquon pick than the Dak pick.
Yeah, because I mean, you do have to understand Saquon's 26. He just came off a season with well over 350 touches. I know he's great, but what if you only get like one more really good year out of Saquon and then he starts to decline? And Derrick Henry, maybe you get another year out of him. Lockett, Cooks, who knows what you're even going to get out of those guys this year? Like, yeah, you'll have 3 great quarterbacks, but that might be it.
Agree. All right. Take your shot. Went with Fields, Brees, Cup, Addison, Hollywood, Eckler, Mike Williams, Joe Mixon, Hal, Rashid Shaheed, Isaiah Hodgins, Hendon Hooker, Higbee, and Marshall, Terrace Marshall, that is. Got some veteran running backs and definitely some age, but also some youth. This is like a balanced team here.
Yeah, I think Mixon and Brees were auto picks. Because I definitely don't really love that Mixon pick. Like, I don't mind the Eckler pick there. Because he does, well, I mean, yeah, I was going to say he's got young wide receivers, but he really doesn't because he has Cup and Mike Williams, but he does have Addison and Hollywood. I don't know. Maybe I mean, I do think he autoed Brees, so maybe if he had gone like St. Brown or Waddle or Olave or somebody instead of Brees, and then maybe that would change his strategy later. I think I would like it a little bit better. I do like the Howell pick. I like some of those late round picks. He sniped you on Hendon Hooker, who I know was going to be your QB3. But yeah, I think maybe that Brees Hall that Brees Hall auto pick, and maybe even the Mixon auto pick probably threw this team off.
Yeah, the Mixon one. I mean, if you were going to go with an older running back to help you win now, I'd rather have Derrick Henry because Mixon could be dust in a year or two. But yeah, I think this team could definitely put up some points this year if Sam Howell pans out. But otherwise, yeah, might have to do some trading in season. And then we got the fantasy sleeper, CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, Daniel Jones as the quarterback 1, Kyle Pitts, Christian Kirk, Josh Jacobs, Geno Smith, Kadarius Toney, Monty, Purdy, Dalvin Cook, Tank Bigsby, Khalil Herbert, and Alan Lazard.
Yeah, even though I don't love any of his quarterbacks, if Purdy starts this year, he's got 3 serviceable quarterbacks. But I love his wide receivers: Lamb, Wilson, Kirk. Even Toney is your wide receiver 4. Is young, has some upside. You got Jacobs, Monty, Cook, okay, whatever. But you got Bigsby and Herbert. You got some youth at running back. You got Pitts. I could see this team, if Jones and Geno and Purdy, like I said, are serviceable, I could see this team being a contender for sure.
I mean, let's just get this out of the way. I don't like the Daniel Jones pick that early, especially. I mean, that if this would have been JSN or Jordan Addison, you just have such a great start to your core. You have those 3 stud young receivers and Pitts. This team would be great to go either way. You know what I mean? Because you could totally be fine for years with that foundation, and then mix and match a quarterback. If you want to say, I'm going to play to win now with Geno and some veteran, or you want to switch it and go young. But yeah, that pick it's not just Jones personally, specifically. It's just, man, what could have been, you know what I mean? What could have been 3 stud young receivers. It's you might as well just commit to that. I don't think Daniel Jones as your quarterback there is really doing much, put you over the top. So, but I like everything else. I think everything else makes sense. And then NMB went with AJ Brown and Bijan, and then Kelsey, JSN, Ramondre, Trey Lance, Elijah Moore, Kirk Cousins, Ashane, Aaron Rodgers, Cortland Sutton, and then 4th quarterback with Levis, Dobbs, and Okonkwo. This is a very interesting roster.
Very interesting. This is quantity over quality at quarterback. Just grab a bunch of them, hope a couple of them work out. We say mine. I mean, Cousins and Rodgers might be fine. Honestly, I know Lance has potential, but I think you might have been okay just having Cousins and Rodgers as your QBs, to be honest. Kelsey there is a little interesting for me because you got AJ Brown, Bijan, JSN, Stevenson. I think I would have liked Pitts a little bit more there. I know Kelsey will probably outscore Pitts this year, but I think I would like Pitts a little more there, but not a major thing. You got youth at wide receiver, AJ Brown, JSN, Elijah Moore, Sutton, Dobbs. I mean, you might not get a lot of fantasy points from them right away, but you got youth. You got your running backs might be the best part of your team here, Bijan and Stevenson, to be honest. So, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting roster. Just some things I would have just liked to see you go with Pitts, and then maybe just totally punt QB and just go Cousins and Rodgers.
Yeah, and he's saying that, and I think you mentioned this earlier. He totally had his mind made up. Javonte Williams is going to be his pick, and then apparently wanted Howell too, and then they both got taken. Yeah, you can't. You got to have a queue. You got to have a queue ready because guys you want are going to be taken, especially you're at the turn. You're waiting so long. You can't just be set on certain guys. But I don't think that even those picks. Not that I want Aaron Rodgers in Dynasty because I don't. But that's not really. I don't know. I just really honestly am not sure what to make of this team. It doesn't have like a clear identity. And I think that's the main thing. Is because you went old or at tight end with Kelsey, and then you took a rookie wide receiver, and then you took a young quarterback who's a project in Trey Lance, and then you took Kirk Cousins and Rodgers. So it's like I'm not really sure what's going on. And I'm not saying it's bad because look, you have two really good running backs and potentially a third good one in Shane. Your receivers are good. AJ Brown is obviously a stud. JSN could be a stud. Elijah Moore as a wide receiver 3 could be fine. Sutton and Dobbs could be startable. So you have a team that can compete. It's just going to be hard. It's really hard to project this team, I guess. That's all I can say. So I'm going to say good job.
Yeah.
All right, good job, everyone. Thanks for drafting with us. That was our Dynasty mock. This is a great time to remind anybody who's still watching or watching back. We do have a Dynasty course, and we have a Dynasty League that we're almost filled, and that is Dynasty Building Champions 2. Get to draft with us, compete against us. So check that out. And, of course, everything else, including Dynasty rankings that were just updated and more. flockfantasy.com/endgame. Join now if you haven't already. All right, guys, we will see you again. That's right, tomorrow for another mock draft, redraft this time. Chris, we're going non-PPR standard?
Yeah, all kickers.
Okay. Maybe one day we'll go with that. All right, see y'all tomorrow.